How to know if a man really wants you. We're going to give you 7 spiritual signs to give you an indication of whether or not a man really wants you. Let's dive into this conversation today. So I recognize that dating can seem very complicated today, particularly because roughly 65% of all new relationships are happening through an online connection, mostly through dating apps. In fact, it's kind of sad that even dating sites have, and what I mean is when you're looking at something with your laptop and you have more robust information, seems to be falling by the wayside, that we have this limited information with dating apps. And I recognize how frustrating and uncomfortable that is for most people because let's face it, we no longer live in environments where we're surrounded by single eligible people in our daily lives. Certainly those of us who are baby boomers or Gen Xers, we grew up in an environment before the internet, before smartphones. We actually, in our early years, we connected with people in our immediate purview. And certainly 50 years prior to that, most everybody mated with somebody from the village, the town, the tribe they grew up in. Well, maybe we'll make that 100 years ago. But nonetheless, here we are in an environment where we're surrounded by people whom we don't know. And it seems like the way we connect to them is through these dating apps. But with it comes a lot of aggravation, a lot of frustration. You can't even figure out who's genuinely available for a relationship, someone who has the capacity to be in relationship, somebody who shares your values, somebody who shares your vision of relationship, somebody whose lifestyle is blendable with yours. And most importantly, that emotional maturity and relationship skills to actually make a relationship work. No wonder people are pulling their hair out, frustrated, because sadly, we have a wounded population, particularly those of us in midlife. And I always say midlife is after baby making years and before retirement. What makes our demographic so unique is roughly 75% of singles in the dating marketplace, and this is anecdotal, are divorced. And divorce comes with it a whole set of issues. Most of the time, people are traumatized by the ending of their relationship. Now, when I say traumatized, I don't mean that they're just, can't walk to the grocery store or pay their bills. I don't mean it from that vantage point. I just mean emotionally traumatized. And you know what emotionally traumatized people oftentimes do? They try to fill a void. For men, it's usually sexual. They try to fill that void. For women, it's filling the void of loneliness in many cases. So we have a rather dysfunctional demographic in the dating marketplace, and it can feel frustrating. So what's the solution to all this? Great question. Hey, I'm a big proponent of doing personal development, self-help, spiritual work, and therapy to be better prepared to be in the dating marketplace. I even wrote a book, very simplistic book called What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. By the way, there's a link below to get a copy of the books I recommend, as well as connecting with me directly. So in the show notes, check that out. Why am I emphasizing this? Because when I look at my own life, and I'm going to share something rather personal for you and to illustrate these 7 spiritual signs a guy is ready for a relationship is, folks, if you don't know my work, I've been a dating and relationship coach for 15 years, but I went through a divorce 20 years ago. Now, as I was going through a divorce, I lost my high-end corporate job and I got wiped out in the market crash of 2008, just a few years later. I was an emotional train wreck. I was that divorce guy that had no direction. I thought I wanted a relationship, but what I really wanted was relief from the emotional pain I was experiencing. It's one of the reasons why my coaching practice is all centered around how to identify the emotionally broken man, that divorced man. In fact, much of my work is teaching discernment, but I was that broken guy. And for several years, I did nothing about it until I saw the movie The Secret. And for whatever reason, the movie The Secret kind of resonated with me in such a way. The law of attraction, listening to Wayne Dyer, certainly Tony Robbins, a lot of the coaching industry was just flourishing right around then. And it resonated with me, spirituality, personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. And I began a practice. And through that practice, I decided to gravitate towards relationships. I tried to read every book I could on relationships to understand the mechanics of a healthy, happy relationship. Books like 8 Dates by Doctors John and Julie Gottman. I highly recommend reading this. Books like Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. I highly recommend reading this. Why am I sharing this? Because, folks, I was a train wreck, didn't have clarity on what I was doing in my life. I knew I wanted companionship. I knew I wanted connection. I knew I wanted sex, but I had no capacity for commitment. It wasn't until I did a deep dive into healing my childhood wounds and traumas. In fact, I highly recommend reading the book, The Hoffman Process, The Hoffman Process. And by doing this inner work, I learned something along the ways. I started to regulate my emotional system. I began not getting as defensive as I oftentimes could when I get triggered. And I learned better communication skills. And through this experience, I became better prepared for a relationship. And folks, as I'm speaking to you today, almost 20 years from the beginning of this timeline, I've had 3 significant relationships. One that happened around 2011. It was on again, off again for about 6 years. Hey, believe me, I was no picnic during that period of time. And the person I was with understood and accepted me. And she knew we weren't the right match for each other, but we had to go on a journey together. And then a few years after that, I entered into a relationship where I lived with another person. Fantastic woman. I was actually deeply in love. I wanted that relationship to go the distance, but it wasn't right for her. And now I've reached a point where I feel like I'm an emotional grown-up. I have good relationship skills, and I found a partner who mirrors. And so what I'm about to share with you, these 7 spiritual signs, are actually a reflection of the way I believe I show up. And maybe this might happen for you if you're a woman watching this. And if you're a man watching this, I invite you to really lean into what I'm sharing as a basis for how you may want to show up in relationship. So number 1, and again, this is directed towards women, but this is designed for you men to listen to too. Number 1, his energy feels safe and grounded. His energy feels safe and grounded. When you're around him, your heart rate slows down instead of speeding up. For example, you might notice that after a stressful day, just sitting on the couch next to him feels like an exhale. His energy feels safe and grounded. Folks, if you've ever found yourself in a relationship where you feel agitated, where you're second guessing yourself, where you feel like you have to check out his social media page just to see what he had to say, then his energy isn't safe and grounding. Now, you might have to also look in the mirror and say, hey, do I have trust issues? Do I have baggage that from my past that may be triggering me? But for the most part, when you're in a right relationship, when a man really wants you, you will feel his energy feels safe and grounding. In fact, safe is probably the number 1 word that I think most women, well, actually, men and women both want. I think to feel, how did my client put it the other day? He said stability. And so when you're on uncertain ground, you don't feel safe. You don't feel stable. And so when you're experiencing that anxiety, those always uncertain, it's probably not a sign that he really wants you in his life. Number 2. He listens with his heart, not just his ears. He listens with his heart, not just his ears. When you talk about something important, he remembers details and brings them up later. For example, you mentioned you love sunflowers, and a week later he shows up with a single sunflower because he heard you. When a man is into you, when he really wants you, he listens with his heart. He's not looking for the next thing to say to you. See, we oftentimes in relationship, we're talking to respond, not to really connect and listen to one another. And do you know the difference between listening with someone's heart? Excuse me, I had to drink some water. Actually, in all fairness, this is lemonade. When he listens with his heart, it's because he's genuinely connecting with you. His eyes are looking at your eyes. He really genuinely cares what you have to say. You know, I've noticed one thing is people oftentimes talk to one another, talk at one another, not with one another. Let me repeat that. They talk at one another instead of with one another. When a man genuinely cares about you from a spiritual perspective, he listens with his heart and not just his ears. When you talk about something important, he pays attention. And by the way, for the record, the first flowers I ever delivered to my girlfriend was sunflowers. So I think those can always put a bright smile on a person's face. And if you're a guy listening to this, do yourself a favor. Go to Trader Joe's. They cost $8. Get a bouquet of sunflowers. Probably not even $8, $6.99. Okay. Number 3, synchronicities start showing up. Synchronicities start showing up. Maybe you both discover that you were at the same concert years ago, or your birthdays line up with significant dates. After you start noticing repeat numbers like 1111, which I just missed a moment ago, when you're together, almost as if the universe is nodding towards one another. So I have a little illustration on synchronicity start showing up. In my current relationship, we actually first connected on a dating app called Bumble, roughly about a year ago. And we connected and we had a dialogue, but it didn't go anywhere. Oftentimes that happens. You have a little dialogue. It didn't reach a level of getting on the phone and having a conversation. And then 3 months later, I saw her on Match.com and I messaged her, and the message was, "Hey, do you remember me?" She says, "Yeah, I remember you." And for whatever reason, nothing happened after that. I don't know why. Then about 6 months after that, or not quite 6 months, some months after that, she messaged me on Hinge. And we exchanged a couple text messages and got on the telephone. Well, during that telephone call, not only did we realize we have some very close mutual friends, she went to a New Year's Eve party that I was supposed to go to, and I literally canceled at the last minute because I wasn't feeling well. We would have met 6 months or 5 months earlier. So synchronicities just start showing up. It amazes me how she and I have this happen frequently. Again, these are spiritual signs. He's not doing anything in this particular case, but once you start having synchronicities, you know that the universe is conspiring with you for this relationship work and not against you. Number 4, his actions match his words consistently. That's not very spiritual, but I'm going to tell you something these days. If he says he's going to call you at 8, he calls at 8. If he says he's going to introduce you to his friends, he actually does it. He doesn't leave you wondering if he's going to follow through. He proves it. Men who genuinely care about you, this isn't spiritual or anything. This is genuinely true with men who want to form a significant relationship with you. You know, I know it's frustrating because in the beginning stages, men might come across, "Oh my God, you're so wonderful. You're so amazing. I want to start a relationship with you." And then they flake. Oftentimes that's driven by their sexual desires. But a man who wants a genuine relationship with you, he's pacing himself. But more importantly, he's pacing, his actions will match his words. And so pay attention to the men who are rushing the relationship or the men who are pacing it through genuine sincerity of wanting a significant relationship with you. Just pay attention to this. Number 5, you feel spiritually elevated around him. You feel spiritually elevated around him. Being with him nudges you towards healthier choices. For example, you find yourself journaling more, meditating more, or simply speaking kinder yourself because his presence inspires growth. His presence inspires growth. You know, it's fascinating. My girlfriend, I'm going to call her my beloved, by the way. My beloved, she journals frequently. I don't think she's journaling anymore or any less because that was a regular practice for her. But she shared a couple of her journal entries with me. Things that she thought was kind of important for both of us. And I can tell you, what she does is this amazing dialogue with herself. So it's almost herself talking to her higher self, or herself talking to her best friend self. And it's amazing to listen to this, but I can tell that she feels inspired because our relationship is inspiring her to take it to another level. It's elevating it because I'm in her life. Number 6, he holds space for your shadows. He holds space for your shadows. When you share an insecurity, like being afraid you're too much or not enough, he doesn't dismiss or try to fix it. Instead, he says, thank you for trusting me with that. And he stays present. I can't begin to tell you how important holding space, being present for one another, particularly when you're sharing something vulnerable. And guys, if you're watching this, I'm saying the right woman does the exact same thing for you. It's okay to be vulnerable with your partner. Sadly, too many humans have duct tape on their mouth, simply meaning that they're afraid to speak their truth. I'm here to say that if it's sincere and from the heart, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. When you're with the right person, you can't say too much. You are plenty enough. And they hold space for your shadows. They hold space for that insecurity. And ladies, if you're watching this, I'm here to say the real juice and flavor of a man isn't the man who's stoic all the time, who is 100% confident all the time. It's the men that can be vulnerable and trust you enough to share vulnerability, the ones that actually have the capacity to build deeper intimacy with you. And intimacy is into me you see, into me see. I believe it was Esther Perel who coined that. I can't remember. Might have showed up from someone else, but intimacy, into me you see. And lastly, number 7, your intuition keeps whispering, yes, 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 yes. Even if old fears surface, deep down you feel an inner calm that says, this man is aligned. This man is aligned. For example, instead of obsessing over whether he'll ghost you, your gut knows he's here for the long haul. When you can say, I trust, when your inner voice is speaking to you, that's a man who really wants you in his life, because he's showing all of these patterns of consistency, of holding space, of presence, of compassion, of empathy. And I didn't even get into the physical aspects of the relationship. I made these all spiritual. But when a man is genuinely into you, he shows all of these. And I'll repeat them. I've got them on my notes here. His energy feels safe and grounded. He listens with his heart, not just his ears. Synchronicities start showing up. His actions match his words consistently. You feel spiritually elevated around him. He holds space for your shadows. And last but not least, your intuition whispers. Yes, whispering, yes, yes, yes. And folks, I don't share this from a place of fantasy. I share this because this is how I show up in my relationship. And I'm merely sharing what I believe you'll feel, whether you're a man or woman, when you're with the right person in your life. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel. and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, hey, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. Follow me on Instagram. Get the books I recommend, and even get my dating vows. That will absolutely change your life. All listed below. All right, those who know my live format know it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, there's a little chat box in the corner. Write the word question or post the question and post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. There's a little $ in the chat box. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Aslay. That's a picture of him right there. He's my son who passed away over 7 years ago. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and scholarships to coaching as well. Our goal tonight is $50, so we'd appreciate some love for Connor Aslay. And if you want to join me live, I just posted a link. Hey, join the Love Seat. Let's have a conversation. It is recorded, but I will promise you, you get a free coaching session with me directly right now. Post if you have a question and you want to do it live on camera, just hit that link to join the group. Okay. Curl Girl has posted, total connect with synchronicity. Definitely happened for me. And now my partner of almost 9 months. Curl Girl, yes, we're excited to hear that. Way to go. All right, Star Dietrich. What do you mean by pacing? Well, pacing is a subjective term, I think, to an individual. What's the pace that feels right for you? I think when a relationship is aligned, when two people are aligned with one another, the pace feels organic. It doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel overwhelming. It doesn't feel like crawling. I know a lot of women feel like the relationship is like a slow crawl. Pacing, Star, is, I think when two people are aligned, they're moving at the same pace. You're not dragging the person along or you're not shoving the person along. It just feels like. So again, pacing, that might look like how many times you see each other during a week. Do you do shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests? Spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills, both in your personal and professional life, intimacy, both physical and emotional intimacy. The pace feels aligned. It just feels calm. It feels comfortable. Again, pacing is about speed. By the way, some people might see each other 5-6 days a week. Some people might see each other once every other week. Now, here's for those couples that barely see each other. I don't see how you can build the deep roots of trust to a relationship unless you're spending regular time together. Because here's the thing, those couples that talk on the phone, talk. How's your day going? Did you have a good day? Hope you had a good day. Tell me about your day. I want to hear about your day. Oh my God, what a wonderful day. Let's just keep talking about our days and days and days and days and days. You're not building roots with them. You're just talking. You might as well be talking to, I don't know. I mean, yes, you can have a virtual relationship. You can have a cyber relationship. But I think the kind of relationship that's going to drive you to the airport at 6 a.m. or drive you to the colonoscopy appointment or pick you up from the hospital because you had a surgery, it's not going to happen through the cyber version. It's going to happen because you spend regular time together. Okay. All right, Star. Thanks so much. Hey, if you have a question, there's a little chat box there. Write the word question or post the question there after. If we don't get any questions in, it's going to be a very short live stream today, and I'd love to get some dialogue going. So I'd appreciate some conversation going. We're going to give it about 30 seconds. If someone just write the word question so I know you're going to write something, or again, join the Love Seat. I just posted a link right there. Be fun to have someone on. All right. Well, it looks like we have a bashful group. I'm going to give it 10 more seconds, 15 more seconds. Otherwise, we're going to be wrapping up early. I do want to congratulate Curl Girl. on her 9-month relationship. Also, Phil Bradley said, hola, hola. And Rita says hi there. So thanks so much. All right, here we go. Question, Rita. All right, Roxy. Rita, write your question down. Roxy just wrote, how to know if a man is mentally okay and available. How do you know a man is mentally okay? Well, this is how I believe you can do some vetting, is to ask him about his past relationships and listen carefully to how he describes his past relationship. Does he operate from victim consciousness? Does he operate from anger? Like, you have to look at the way he characterizes a past relationship can give you some insight. If he takes no ownership on the failing or ending of the relationship, that might not be a good sign. Okay. That might not be a good sign that it's not about being mentally okay. I mean, I know we could be concerned about people that are narcissistic, people who are sociopath and whatnot, people that can regulate their emotional nervous system. But I think I think asking about past relationship gives you clues on their emotional maturity. People who take ownership, like, for example, after my divorce, I blamed my ex-wife for quite some time until I realized I was a jackass in the marriage. I was an unconscious husband. I take ownership of that. Person who takes ownership of their part, usually probably that's a good sign that they are emotionally grown up. Now, to determine if they're available, preferably they've been out of a significant relationship for a little while. That's usually a good sign. Okay. All right. Thanks so much for that question, Roxy. And Roxy wants to say thanks for being here. Okay. By the way, if you have a question, write the word question, then post the question there after. Okay. It just makes it easier for me to find, although we have a slow group tonight, so you can just write your question. All right. Denise has a question. I know how you feel about long distance relationship. Oh, and the follow-up is any hope for the hopeful? So, here's my thing about long distance relationship. Is it possible for a long distance relationship to work? Absolutely. I was in a relationship where it was 1,800 miles distance. Within 5 months, we moved in together. We lived together for 9 months. It didn't work out. Okay. So collectively, we're together about 1.5 years. A little longer than 9 months living together. It's not to suggest it won't work. It's just, I don't believe in dragging out a relationship. I would say if you're going to fail quickly. So I'm a big proponent of shortening that distance as early as possible, seeing each other on a regular basis in that particular relationship. Over the course of 90 days, we spent 45 days together out of 90 days. Not all, some of it, there was blocks of 2 weeks and then didn't see each other for 2 weeks. But I believe in spending as much time together in each other's respective homes. And lastly, having a plan for shortening the distance, Denise, that's my suggestion anyway. Speaking of distance, Rita just posted 9 months in. The distance is growing. Intimate life is repetitive. One position in months. His home is messy. And whenever I gently bring it up, he gets defensive, says he feels unaccepted. Should I keep trying? I mean, I'm not 100% sure exactly what you're saying, but it sounds like there's a misalignment. So Rita, do you have distance between the two of you, or emotionally distance is growing between the two of you? Folks, if you're not actively talking about building a relationship together after the 3rd month and what that a life partnership based relationship looks like, I'm here to say people are, you know what I think most relationships are? They're just a long, drawn out version of friends with benefits. I'm here to say within 3 months, if you're not moving towards a life partnership based relationship and you're not coming closer together, then it's a sign that the two of you might be misaligned with one another. If he prefers messy and you prefer cleanly, by the way, I have no toleration for messy people. Okay. Now I have a son and I love him dearly. He can be messy. Sorry for throwing you under the bus. But I'm going to say in romantic relationship, a clean home is a clean, a clean relationship. So anyone who's messy in their own personal life and they don't want to improve, do you want to be, I wouldn't want to be a part of that kind of relationship. That's how I feel about it. Okay. Okay. In response to my previous question, he also never talks about his previous relationship. Whenever I ask specific questions, he doesn't like this, says he's way happier now. And why do I care? Well, and you've been 9 months in this relationship. Well, at this point, you're 9 months in the relationship. The real important factor is, are you talking about the existing relationship with any intent for growth towards the future? Sounds like he's what I call a spender. If you're not familiar with the 3 types of people actively dating, by the way, this is not a fact, it's merely an opinion. I call it the 3 types of people actively dating: the users. Those are the love bombers, the players. They seek short-term goals. They're gold diggers. They only care about themselves. About 20% of the population. 20% of the population are grower builders. They seek long-term commitment. They're emotionally grown up. They have their act together, good relationship skills. But the vast majority of people are what I call spenders. They seek companionship, connection, and sex. Usually no direction, uncertainty, fearful, usually have a dysfunctional life. They're called spenders because they'll spend time with you as a placeholder. So it sounds like that's who you have as a non-grower builder. So he's happy to just spend time with you, most likely at his beck and call on his terms. He's not wanting to grow something with you. You've got to ask yourself, do you want to be in that type of relationship? I'm just speculating here. This is not a fact. It's merely just an opinion. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Okay, question. This will be probably the last one for a day. Question: I had a relationship with a married man for 10 years plus. Is there any hope for me now? Very, very, very slim. I mean, he got wife benefits from you at girlfriend prices, not even girlfriend prices. He wasn't leasing to buy. He just wanted to lease you. Okay. So, I would say very rarely 10 years in, is there hope? Very, very, very slim hope. But you already know the answer to this question, KC. You already know the answer to the question. You're holding out. The fact that you chose a married man speaks volumes about you. Like, by the way, it's not clean. So why did you? I would look in the mirror and ask yourself, this has nothing to do with him. What inside of you is choosing a person unavailable? What is unavailable inside of you? I know you hold a hope for something to change, but the fact that you chose someone who's unavailable speaks more about what's going on for you. He's just getting you for the physical benefits, some emotional. He's probably using you for emotional connection and physical benefits. But his wife gets the benefit of his stability, his financial, aspects of his life. He gets to rent you, and he probably doesn't even really take you out or do anything. So you're paying for your entire life. He's probably invested $0 in the two of you. Does he pick up dinner? Possibly. Anyway, those are just some thoughts. All right, Casey, thanks for sharing. Last question, Roxy, how do we differentiate just the need for sex rather than knowing the person? Well, wait a minute. Now Casey says he's single again. Well, what does that mean? He's single and still married? I mean, is he divorced legally? Does he still live with his wife? Those are the 2 questions. Does he still live with his wife? Is he divorced? And then Roxy comes back. How do we differentiate the need for sex rather than knowing the person? Come on. This is look at, you guys know when it's just sex. Okay. You know when it's just sex. But do you want to have sex with someone who could be your life partner, or do you just want to have sex? You guys know the answer to that question. My whole channel is about encouraging life partnership-based relationships. Get it? Life partnership-based relationship. That's my invitation for everyone. Okay. All right, folks. Okay, come back to KC. He said he was single. Once again, is he divorced? Does he live on his own? That's what a single person is. They're called a divorced person, okay? They're not single. Single is never married. We all, exactly, not everyone wants sex, Roxy, but most people do. But the question is, do you want sex with a person that's potentially a life partner? That's the invitation for everybody. And Roxy says, thank you. All right, folks. I think this will be a great place to wrap up today. Thanks again for all the love and kindness that you shared. Also, how to know if a man really wants you, those 7 signs. Go back, rewind this, watch it again. You can pick up on it. It's how I landed into the relationship I'm in. And I can tell you some folks, I can't begin to express the gratitude for being in a relationship with a person who is aligned with who I am and what I want. And we seem to be on the both same track, that what we want is a life partnership-based relationship. Is this sinking in with you? Is it resonating? If it is, post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours, as always. If you want to connect, as always, if you find value, hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, hey, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's links to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's links to get all the books I recommend listed below. And lastly, I just want to comment, KC says, no, he's married. Unfortunately, you're not dumb. You're just human. But I'm inviting you to be a grown-up human and not a 16-year-old, okay? Be a grown-up human, or at least not an 18-year-old, okay, Casey? Sending you big hugs. Wishing you all a super-duper wonderful evening. Be well, everyone. Thanks. Bye now. Bye-bye.